Book of Mormon antagonists claim there's no archaeological evidence for the Book of Mormon in ancient America during Book of Mormon times. No elephants, no horses, no silk, no pearls, no grains, no metals. Yet with just a little study, each of these things can be found not just in America, but right in the heart of Book of Mormon territory in western New York. We hear of these things in the book of Ether, where we read, "And the Lord began again to take the curse from off the land, and the house of Emer did prosper exceedingly under the reign of Emer, having all manner of fruit, and of grain, and of silks, and of gold, and of silver, and of precious things. And they also had horses and asses, and there were elephants, and corelims, and cumums, all of which were useful unto man, more especially the elephants, and corelims, and cumums. Thus the Lord did pour out his blessings upon this land, which was choice above all other lands." Now, since my work centers chiefly on the lands of western New York as the heartland of Book of Mormon territory, this is the region we need to search for the archaeological evidence needed to satisfy those who question the validity of the New York setting as a viable location for the lost lands of the Book of Mormon. To begin with, New York State archaeologist William A. Ritchie himself reported in his book, The Archaeology of New York State, that the bones of both the horse and mastodon were found in New York after the last ice age. While the biblical timeline and the scientific timeline for such events are hopelessly at odds with each other, the mere fact that the Jaredites were commanded to bring animals of every kind to the Promised Land would certainly suggest New York was still void of animals following the last ice age, else why were they commanded to bring such a variety, and even birds, bees, and fish? The geologist Herman Leroy Fairchild said, "If a hiker could venture into the primeval Genesee forest a few thousand years ago, he would have come face to face with a huge mastodon, and also the hairy mammoth, the latter a true elephant." The Genesee forest, he mentioned, existed to either side of the great Genesee River, which appears to have been the feeding ground of 3 species of elephants, a river not far from the hill Cumorah itself, and I might add the lands of the Book of Mormon, where the Jaredites would have used them as beasts of burden in their many building projects. Along with the elephant, the Jaredites also mentioned seemingly related beasts known as corelims and cumans, perhaps the animals we would refer to today as mammoths and mastodons. The archaeological record shows 119 finds of the elephant family of large animals with long trunks were found, of which Bishop claims 15 are certainly elephants. Because arrowheads were found in the skeletal remains of the elephants, it's speculated that they were hunted to extinction, perhaps during the many famines the Jaredites experienced when the weather was 4 to 6 degrees warmer than at present. The remains of the horse was also noted in various reports of the animals found in the region during ancient times. The tracks of a horse were noted by the archaeologist Josiah Priest in his American Antiquities, which were impressed in the surface of solid rock on a mountain in Tennessee, which proved to his satisfaction that the horse was known in America in the earliest ages after the flood. The elephant family no doubt traveled across the ice sheets that covered so much of the world during the Ice Age, and then southward into New York and the surrounding regions. Unlike the elephants, the horse and other smaller animals were no doubt carried to the New World in the 8 barges the Lord instructed the Jaredites to build, and then stocked with animals, just like he did Noah right before the flood, for the ice sheets left New York nearly devoid of animals, except for those who migrated back up from the south. New York was filled with both hardwood and deciduous forests when the Jaredites arrived, with the oak tree found across the lands a perfect breeding ground for the oak moth, which produces a form of silk strand the Jaredites no doubt used to make silk. In 4th Nephite, we learn that there began to be those who were lifted up in pride, such as the wearing of costly apparel and all manner of fine pearls, and of the fine things of the world. Freshwater pearls can be found all along the Ohio River, just to the south of New York, which was a major thoroughfare for those in New York who needed to travel south. Each of these grains are noted in the Book of Mormon, and while their grains are much too fragile to have withstood the elements and time, millions of bushels of these grains are grown in New York today. Contrary to those who claim otherwise, all the metals mentioned in the Book of Mormon can be found in abundance in the regions to both the north and south of the Book of Mormon's heartland in New York. Helaman tells us, "And it came to pass that many of the Lamanites did go into the land northward. And behold, the Nephites did go into whatsoever part of the land they would, whether among the Nephites or the Lamanites. And thus they did have free intercourse one with another to buy and to sell and to get gain according to their desires. And they did have an exceeding plenty of gold and of silver and of all manner of precious metals, both in the land south and in the land north." Thus, we can put to rest those arguments that suggest there's no archaeological evidence for the Book of Mormon in America during Book of Mormon times, for they can all be discounted. But of equal, if not more importance, the land itself meets all the scriptural requirements to be the long-lost lands of the Book of Mormon. With the help of books on the geography, archaeology, and even the hydrology of New York, along with maps of every quadrangle in western New York, then coupled with every geographical description provided in the scriptures, I was able to lay out a setting which fits so perfectly that I can't help but believe that western New York may well be the long-lost lands of the Book of Mormon. That scriptural odyssey can be seen on my video entitled Zarahemla Mapped, Scripture by Scripture.